So this is episode 16 of the Sioux City Show. I'm hosting this thing. I'm Taylor Grote. In the studio with me today, I have Mark, and Mark is an artist from Sioux City, and I like his work. What I've seen of it, I don't know if I'm aware of everything you've done or the extent of your portfolio. So go ahead and kind of give like a couple highlights of things you've done.
Well, highlights of things of mine that you'd see in Sioux City would be I'm one of a two-man team that did the Rockland Mural on Gordon Drive.
Love it.
Just did
Just
a
redid it, right?
restoration after 13 years. So I spent 14 weeks. I was the guy on the boom for 14 weeks.
Very cool. And it looks great.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm so glad it's done. It's 14 weeks in a parking lot. Leaves a little to be desired.
I feel you.
Let's see, what else have I done? The beginning of the bike trail where Hamilton and Stone Park Boulevard meet.
Mm-hmm.
There's 7 giant bicycles with little birds sitting all over them. That's me.
Like it.
What else? I've done Saturday in the Park posters for 12 years.
Are you like the last 12? That was you?
I'm not the official. I'm the second official poster.
Oh, okay.
So there's one that's been done in Omaha for forever.
Mm-hmm.
And one year I got a call from Dave Bernstein, and he said, "Hey, make me another poster." So that was 2007. So I've been at that ever since.
Nice.
So,
And I remember specifically, I think last year, did you do the one with like the cactuses in it?
Yeah.
I really like that one.
Thank you.
It was a great piece of artwork.
I always the stories I hear for that is that they tack them up in the stores and people rip them down immediately and take them home.
Yeah.
And I'm happy. Take them, please.
Awesome.
It's flattering.
Yeah. So like, how long have you been an artist? Is it like, did you decide day one, as a little kid, I was doing art, or?
I was moving that direction for
Okay.
a long time. My mother was always very crafty. She still is. She does quilts, but she used to crochet, stained glass. She was a decent drawer, and as a kid, I was fascinated with what she could do. And I remember, I spent my entire high school life drawing in notebooks, superheroes and muscle dudes and things that a teenage male would sketch.
I like it. Yeah. Okay. I got that.
And I always had kind of a deal worked out with the teachers. I kept to myself. I did my work, and when I wasn't doing schoolwork, I was drawing superheroes.
Nice. My senior year of high school, we had AB days in Sergeant Bluff. So like, you had 4 classes on day 1, and then day 2 you had 4 different classes.
Sure.
So, and one of my days I'd worked it out was completely art classes from like 8 a.m. to 3:30
Nice.
p.m. And it was a nice, and when you're in the same class for 8 hours a day, the teacher's kind of like, as long as you
It becomes one block.
become responsible about this. And
All right, walk out in the hall.
Yeah.
Wait for the bell. All right, come back in.
exactly. Yeah. And it was, bring your own, I was able to bring food and drinks every day. So
Oh yeah.
it was living the life when you're, 17,
a
18
little
years old.
special treatment, a little VIP treatment.
Yeah.
Down here. I had a similar thing worked out with my teachers that as a junior and a senior,
Yeah.
that I'd kind of give them the heads up and they'd say get out, and I would just go down to the art room.
Where'd you go to high school at?
West.
Okay, cool. And you graduated what year?
98.
98.
20 years ago.
So it makes you 38. You be in the ballpark of my uncle. I don't want to go discussing family on this thing, but yeah, we can talk later. Yeah, that's cool.
Well,
man.
and you got to remember, I was an art dork. So
Yeah,
I don't know anybody unless they were in the art room hanging out with me.
I feel you. So like, what's kind of been the trajectory post grad that's like led towards, it doesn't seem like every day is like 10 art assignments. You're able to produce like these bigger things, spend 14 months or 14 weeks on a project. So what's been the trajectory to get to where you're at right now?
The trajectory to
That's
get
a
to where I'm at.
big question.
That's a
but
big
yeah.
question. Like back to the beginning, full circle already, hustle. It's
Okay.
Sioux City, you're gonna hustle.
Yep.
The infrastructure is not here to slide into. There's not a million graphic design jobs. There's not a whole lot of jobs for a hand with a brush painter.
Yep.
We're looking at cultural shifts, technology shifts, all this other stuff. So if you're gonna make it, and make it as subjective, right? If you're going to make it work as an artist in Sioux City or in the Midwest in general, you're hustling.
Yeah.
You're looking for any opportunity to bring in support money to do everything else. So, you just mentioned the 14 weeks on the Rockland Mural. It's not that I didn't want to do it, but even if I didn't, I'd still do it.
Yeah.
Right. If there's a paycheck involved, I'm showing up. And my personal rule is if it's art, say yes.
Yeah.
So I teach at the art center. I taught at WIT for a number of years. If it's somebody wants me to design a CD cover or a logo, done, done, done.
Yep.
If it's art, I say yes.
So do you work in like the digital space as well, like Photoshop-y kind of
Minimal.
stuff?
I have kind of picked together a Photoshop ability.
Okay.
Just
That's
picking
about where
my
I'm
way
at on
through it.
Photoshop as well. I'm so video first that I stay away from most
Yeah.
graphic design stuff.
Well, no, the benefit of, I mean, how long's Photoshop been around? But I mean, I've used 12 different versions.
Right.
So I got to learn things in high school. I mean, heck, in high school, I had a web page going
Yeah.
on GeoCities or something like
Nice.
that. I mean, and it had a web address this long with 14 subdirectories.
Yeah.
And I don't know what drew me to it, but it turned out being pretty handy because I still design, implement, and run my own web page.
Mm-hmm.
And it's same way with things like Photoshop. But I don't know enough to compete with full-time graphic designers.
I got you. Like, I mean, if somebody comes to me who's used me for projects before, doing photos or videos, and they're like, "Hey, will you make us this image?" I'm like, "Sure, I can do that."
Yeah.
But in terms of like, do I want to take on a full career as a graphic designer? I do not.
I have a problem with authority.
I feel you. Yeah.
I'm better off. I wake up at my own house with a nice cup of coffee, a few minutes to come to unscramble my brain, and then I can sit in front of a painting for the next 10 hours.
Yes.
And I'm happy there. Having to drag it out and go do other things and punch the clock and all that other stuff it's just counter to who I am.
Yeah, and I'm also very jealous of the fact that your artistic medium does not require screens. I
Sure.
die sitting in front of computers every day because I'm very good. All of my best skills for getting paid in life all came from like random things, like, oh, I needed to figure out how to do this for this project in high school, whatever. It's not like real formal education at all. And I got really good on computers, just kind of out of tinkering with them. And I don't like being on computers that much. So it's a kind of a catch-22. If you want to make videos, you also got to spend a lot of time in front of a screen.
I spent a ton of time with computers as a younger man, and I was always running Windows machines. I knew every process running at all times, manually unscrewing the computer every time you download a virus and all that stuff.
Right.
And you're like, oh, I'm pretty good at this. And
Yep.
you're fixing other people's computers, and boy, I ran the other way. Analog, like
Yeah.
I'd rather listen to vinyl. I'd rather not have a computer, and I would rather use a wooden stick with hairs on the end of it to move things around.
Definitely.
Ezra was giving me a hard time after the talk we did. He did the first 100 pages by hand, and then the rest of the 400 were done digital.
Wow.
And I just shook my head because he said there's no physical evidence of those 300 pages.
Yeah.
And I said I couldn't do it, man. I couldn't put that kind of effort into a digital format.
Yeah. Yeah, I could see that.
And he says, "Oh, wait and see," and I'm almost.
Yeah.
I can guarantee you that I would never do 300 pages of a graphic novel in
Yeah.
a digital format.
I do a weird amount of like animation things for companies, and I found that I am this close to buying one of those iPads, or I guess the new iPad. It used to be only the iPad Pro that you can use like the pen on, just to draw straight on. I'm like getting dangerously close to just pulling the trigger on one of those because I don't know if you ever worked with like a tablet, a Wacom tablet.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's brutal. I'm not a fan of that at all. It's not an intuitive animating experience.
Well, part of what I'm doing, it's incredibly important to me to have that tactile, physical response, right? Because it's not just, painting's not coming up with an image and suddenly it exists. Like
Right.
you sit in a certain chair with the certain tools in front of you for long enough and it happens, right? It's this incredibly specific process, and it requires, physical discipline.
Yeah.
And I'm proud of that physical discipline. That's to stay. I joke I could have been a surgeon in another life.
Yeah.
With just the specificity of the motion, learning how to boil it all down into the most stable movement that you can.
How much? This is a good question for people like me that are like half painters or like dabble on things. what is the difference between the what seems to be affordable paint and the holy shit, why is this so expensive paint and brushes in terms of like actual quality? Is there that big of a difference on your end?
Huge.
Oh wow.
Absolutely huge difference. The cheap paint is mostly like a binder. It's just a medium that the pigment floats in. So if you spend $20 on a 2-ounce bottle of red paint or $20 on a gallon of red paint, you might actually have the same amount of pigment. I mean, hypothetically.
Yeah, yeah.
It's just dispersed in a larger
Interesting.
volume.
Yeah.
So imagine you're trying to get the hottest, reddest red. Well, you'll never get there with that cheap paint, but you'll start there with the good paint. And if you want a lighter,
and then you dilute
thinner
down from there.
version, you can always start from that pure and take it down the line.
Okay.
So you're basically you're saving time. It's that whole thing, you cough it up for the quality up front, and it will make a difference in the long run.
That's very interesting, and I like just that little example right there alone makes me understand now why when I see like people's paintings, I'm like, holy shit, how do they get these colors so bold?
That's it.
Expensive paint.
Expensive paint, but you use less of it.
Yep.
I mean, it just shakes out in the end. It's that sticker shock at the very beginning. I haven't every 8 months I spend $400 on paint.
Okay.
And I try to do it before winter hits, so my paint's not being shipped to me when it's frozen.
Yep.
So, like, I'll probably be putting an order in a week here. But I use that paint throughout the year. I never use it all. I'm always careful to cap it, store it, protect it, measure its use so I'm not wasting a lot.
Yep.
And generally, every year you just replenish what's missing and add something new. So the sticker shock is never as bad. It's not this repeat punishment. It's punishment up front.
I feel it's kind of like that with photos and videos, like in cameras. The first time somebody recommends that you buy the $1,000 camera instead of the whatever $200 camera, you're like, oh, what am I getting here? And then like you start using that $1,000 camera for a while, and now I'm ended up with a few cameras that cost $3,000 each, and I can't go back now after I've used the nice ones. So it's all a dangerous dangerous deal when you get
go buy the
involved in a hobby.
$200 camera and you'll be outstripping its capabilities in 3 weeks.
Oh yeah.
And now you're like, oh shit, I want that $1,000 camera.
Exactly. I still have that with these cameras. Where
And
I'm
nobody
like,
wants
damn it,
that other camera.
Yep.
So now it's just a paperweight.
And the cameras are a bottomless black hole that I don't recommend to anybody who's not very serious about making this a career. Don't get involved in them because it's just a good way to spend a few $1,000 every other month.
Well, I could steer people clear of being an artist as a career.
There you go. Do you love it though?
Absolutely.
Awesome. And you're able to be your own boss. Have you ever? Do you do work on the side? Like, do you hold down a 9 to 5 on the side to keep the art going?
I have a part-time job.
Okay. Cool. Yep.
So as much as I would like to be solely funded, it's not happening around here.
Part-time job is important. Yeah.
And the little bit of structure, it might be okay.
Yeah. Well, I mean, a steady paycheck instead of when I say a part-time job. What I meant was a steady paycheck. Yeah.
Though, when you're dirt broke, you hustle a little harder.
Yeah.
You're hungrier.
Yep.
And, you take some risks that you might not have.
Yeah.
And you chase down those opportunities a little harder. I could see, this with all this lottery talk going. I could see winning the lottery and you're like, oh, I'm just going to like pay off all my bills and I'm going to hang out and I'm going to make art all day. It's like, well, now you got a jet ski and you got that new Jeep and now you got this and you got that. And maybe you're taking a trip to Australia next week. And suddenly, are you getting anything done?
Nope.
Some people I'm sure could.
I think I'd be an outstanding lottery winner because I hate to travel. So I feel like I'd be very great at winning the lottery. 90% of my stressors in life are being poor. So, but on the other hand, is there anything more liberating than spending like your first year as like a poor artist, and you're like, all right, well if that's what it feels like, that's not that bad,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm still waiting for that feeling to subside.
No. I feel you. Yeah. Yeah. So,
it's a weird place to make a go of it here.
it really is.
It's a strange place. It's just it's that low population number.
Hmm.
It's really been hitting me that we've actually, in certain ways, we've only got so many months out of the year to make things happen.
It's true. Really like I'm 100% my own boss on this stuff, and so it's like people will message me every once in a while for like little favor projects, and I'm like, we can talk like December, January,
Yeah.
February, but other than that,
Yep.
like I can't be wasting time, or not, wasting time, but not getting paid for the work I'm doing.
You got to be efficient on
Yep.
that whole make hay while the sun shines kind of thing.
Exactly.
I'm jealous of folks who are out on the West Coast.
Yep.
You can have a mid-February art show outside,
Mm-hmm.
and people will show up.
Yeah.
And you can have an art show in a brilliant, beautiful, heated space here in February and have 6 feet of snow dumped on you.
Yeah. Especially for photo, or I keep bringing it back to photos and video, but like when it gets to being the gray shit outside for
Yep.
6 months a year, people are like, we'll wait until spring to do any photo shoots. And it's, when you make $400 the entire month of February, you're going like, oh my God, somebody's got to want photos at some point, right? Yeah. But
Not in February.
no.
Nobody wants anything in February.
February, March, I found to be the like real slow ones, because that's when winter. Everybody's like, okay, winter happened. Let's just get to spring.
Well, and the thing is, that's when you're supposed to start like setting things up for the summer.
Yeah.
But you're
Mm-hmm.
you're dead from the hibernation.
You're right. You got it. Yeah.
Well, I'm setting. Hell, I set art shows up a year and a half in advance.
Really.
It's a nightmare.
Yeah.
If you ever find one where it's like, hey, you want a show next week? Jump on it.
Yeah.
It's something quick, easy, and you don't have to think about it for a year.
Mm-hmm.
But I've got a show in Lamar's in July and August of next year
That's nice planning.
that I set up 4 months ago.
Yep.
But the windows.
I used to do weddings, and I used to kind of like weddings for the one fact that I could definitely put something on my schedule a year in advance. And then I had a few fall through because of pre-marriage breakups. So I was like, maybe
Yeah.
these aren't as firm as I thought they were.
That's where deposits come.
Yeah. I mean, I always kept my deposits like low enough that it like didn't scare anybody off, kind of deal.
Yeah.
And then, because I was always like, I'll get the check when I get the check, and then whatever. I mean, if I have 6 months to be able to
Life
plan out
turns
something
us
else,
all
it's
into
alright.
sharks.
There we go. Yeah, that's true.
It'll get you.
Yeah. How many art shows do you do? Is there enough volume of art shows in the area to kind of keep busy with it a little bit, or
No,
there's not
it's a couple a year,
couple of years.
and with the goal of increasing that.
Yeah.
They're so labor intensive.
Really.
Depending on where, right? Like I'm starting to get my stuff together well enough that I can show up with a carload full of work, have it up on the walls in an hour, and ready to go. That's not always been the case, but they're a pain. I mean, a lot of times you're finding a space that's dirty, and that's if you're doing like pop-up shows, you're doing your own thing.
Yeah.
There's not a million options if you're just looking to go and insert your work into a gallery space somewhere.
Yeah.
A lot of times you need to be on the roster of that gallery's artists. You need to be represented by them.
Interesting.
A lot of times they have restrictions. Maybe some places in South Dakota only want South Dakota artists, or maybe this gallery only shows student artists, or what have you. So
Yeah.
it's not as though there are option upon option of places to go
Yeah.
and stick your work.
And when you're using an actual, like, when your display is a physical medium, like, that also changes. It has to be somewhere you can travel to, where for me, I can just send off a file to whatever
Yeah.
film festival to LA,
In a way, it'll control the size of work you make.
Yeah, I could see that.
I mean, I'd love to make 10 by 10s. I don't know how to get them anywhere. And I can't afford to rent a truck every time I need to move a painting from A to B.
Yeah.
It's
Is that how they do it when they make those giant pieces of?
yeah, if you're moving big work, you got to find a way to get it there.
Are you familiar with the artist Kaws, Kaws?
No.
Okay, so he's like he's an American dude, but it resembles Japanese pop art kind of deal. And he makes these statues called the Kaws. I think it's companion. They're like these 30-foot tall statues that are basically a sculpture version of a character that he started out painting years ago. And I'm like, how the hell do they get these 30-foot sculptures into all these different places that he's going to?
Flatbeds.
Yeah, flatbeds.
Or they come in pieces.
Okay.
That's possible.
Yeah, just the amount of money when you get to like that scale of art is just crazy. And
It's crazy.
is it how much like bullshit politics is in the art world of like when you're actually like selling art, gallery spaces? Because I've heard that you know, when they put like those insane price tags on like some fine art, it's kind of a way for rich people to hide money, launder money, move money, that kind of deal without the taxation of that.
I think in certain cases that is true.
Okay.
There's a guy named Ken Perini.
Okay.
I think the book is Caveat Emptor, and it's the story of his life learning how to forge art. And it, spoiler here, toward the end of the book, he writes about these auction houses like Christie's, these high-end auction houses, kind of catch wind that some of their work isn't real, that he'd been faking things so well and slowly dumping them onto the market.
Yeah.
And they shut it down. They didn't want people digging in too far.
Yeah,
to undermine
sure.
the ultimate value of said work. So it was just like, let's pretend this didn't happen.
Yeah.
And I've heard that like it's a way to move money across international borders.
Yeah.
With a little less paperwork.
And then I just know like from stories I've heard that when you get into those like, you know, millions of dollars trading hands, it's a real easy way to slip in an extra few $100,000 to different places and keep money hidden.
All I see when I see work selling for $40 million is I just see red. I think if I had $40 million to spend on work, I could fill warehouses full of stuff.
Yeah.
I could lift up artists all over the country and provide them sustenance.
Yeah.
Like just start tasking random artists all over the world with creating things for you.
Yeah.
I mean, you could like single-handedly have a Midwestern Renaissance if you had $40 million
exactly
to spend on art.
Did you hear the Kanye West argument for that?
What's
and this is
I don't keep up on his arguments.
Well, it basically like this is from a few years ago when he was in like crazy amounts of debt off of like basically funding his own giant tours.
Was he begging money from people?
He was. This is the argument: is that it got characterized in the media that he was begging people for money, but his argument is not his argument, but his big statement publicly was like that the Renaissance happened because the Medici family funded art for art's sake.
Yeah.
And he was saying we need our world, you know, billionaires to step up and fund the creation of art for art's sake. But people are like, he's begging for money. That guy made this much money, and he's like, I spent $150 million creating a bespoke concert setup to further the art experience for everybody. I'm in debt $50 million because I did it for the art. Like,
noblesse oblige.
What does that mean?
It's the obligation of the noble.
There you go.
The obligation of the noble class to give back to the culture, to the society, and I firmly believe in it.
Yeah,
there are those who do.
Yeah,
there
absolutely.
There are a handful who give back in a big way. But I think a lot of times it's these folks, they get maybe a couple artists. They don't have the time to dedicate themselves to a stable of 200 artists.
Yeah.
They're like constantly funneling money at.
Yep.
You'd almost have to set up a foundation, and suddenly that starts looking like things we kind of already have.
Well, there's like the Gilchrist Foundation in Sioux City, and I'm not 100% sure how this works, but I do know people that have gotten like $5,000 grants from the Gilchrist Foundation to create art, which is pretty dope.
Well, they just did those 2 murals. That was Gilchrist money.
Oh, okay.
I think.
That sounds right to me. Yeah.
I mean, don't quote it, but I'm pretty sure that was them.
Yeah.
Which is awesome. I mean, and there's always an artist left saying, well, why couldn't I have that money?
Yeah. That right, yeah. How sick is that Buffalo mural? I actually really like that one. I know that there was like people going, what the hell is that?
Like, anything. I'm thumbs up on anything.
Yeah. Do you know what I mean, you've done like public space art before, like the bicycles. So do you know what's the process between like when the city's like, we have a blank wall, we have an artist, let's make this happen? Is it?
Can I go back and answer another question first?
Yeah, go ahead.
You asked about politics and cost of paintings and art and stuff.
Yeah.
It's a market. It settles itself out,
Okay.
and once you get outside of the realm of those crazy 40 million, $100 million things,
Yeah.
it settles out. It's based on where you're at,
Yeah.
who you are, how much you've done, whether you have representation, how much overhead you have. A painting in LA is going to cost more than Sioux City,
Correct. Yeah.
right? It might be the same painting, but folks here know you don't have the same bills that you do in LA.
Yeah.
The likelihood that you're going to go on to be the next big thing
Uh-huh.
in Iowa is a little lower, so your investment value might be a little bit lower on a painting, right?
Yep.
Your speculation.
Yep.
So I just wanted to answer that before we went flying past it. The mural thing with the city is not just Sioux City. From an artist's perspective, it's a mess because it's never as straightforward as you'd wish it was.
You probably have to submit 4 different treatments.
Well, the
Go
city,
through
all they
80
have to do is sign off on it.
Yeah.
And right now,
I mean, is it like you provide the paint, you provide the time? Do you get to cut a check?
but
for
sure,
that?
but I mean,
Yeah.
that's like a plumber going up to an empty building and saying, "I'll provide the pipes." and-
Yeah, right,
Be like,
yeah.
there's no, there's no logic in them doing that.
Yeah.
I mean, I have the skills to paint murals, as do other people,
Mm-hmm.
but it makes no sense to walk up and say, "Man, if you just give me the opportunity, I will give you tens of thousands of dollars worth of free labor."
Yeah.
You can't do it.
Yeah, well,
because
think of
I'm
all the
hustling on
exposure,
other
dude.
end.
No, I'm just kidding. The exposure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Put it in. You can get rid of this guy and put exposure and neon on
The
wall.
artist's favorite way to pay the bills is exposure.
Exposure is a real thing.
Yeah.
You might have a weird show somewhere, nobody pays you any attention,
Uh-huh.
but then at the end of the night, that one couple walks in,
Yeah.
that unassuming couple who's got huge stacks of cash in their
Yeah.
billfold. If without the exposure, you never would have met them. So
That's
it's
true.
real, but it's also a slap in the face to.
That's true, and that's kind of that exposure works differently than like the video exposure because like people are like, hey, come do this nightclub video for me. It'll be a bunch of exposure, and it's like nobody's gonna watch your nightclub video and go, hey, I want to hire the guy that made that. But
We'll put your watermark down there in the corner for
Yeah.
3 seconds.
and the clients, I've found 100% of time, the best clients to have are the ones that are most willing to pay the money and let you have an artistic vision.
Agreed.
And I've never had like I
They're
mean
few and far between, and you treat them very well.
exactly. I just was on tour with JD or not tour, but the campaign trail with JD
Yeah.
Schulten last weekend, and it was like, hey. Basically a couple days of like filming him and Bernie Sanders together. I'm like, as far as like portfolio exposure wise, that's about as good as it gets, and it's a paid
Yeah.
deal. So, yeah, I mean I've never had people that offer me real exposure, I've never had people who actually give me exposure offer to pay me an exposure. Everybody's been like, we'll give you a paycheck. Yeah.
You're just looking at different classifications of people.
Yeah.
I mean, and I don't begrudge anybody. Interest is interest.
Right.
I'm flattered that you thought of me. Yeah. I'm flattered that you're interested in having something of mine. But truth be told, I can't give it to you.
Yeah.
I can't work on speculation of zero.
Yes. Yeah.
I can speculate on return. I can do things.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can say you can give art or services to a charity.
Which I do.
Or
Yeah.
what have
Yep.
you, right? I mean, you're speculating, and not to say that it's all just self-serving, but that comes back to you. I mean, that echoes back at you in a good way.
Exactly.
But when you're just talking to a cheapskate.
Yeah, exactly. Cheapskates are the worst. But charities, like I said, the charities are just fine.
When I was young, one of the first lessons I learned as an artist was don't count the money till the check's in your hand. And even then, it's not a guarantee. I've had somebody come and take a check back from me.
Wow.
Because they got a piece home and changed their mind. I mean, what are you going to do?
That's interesting.
You going to fight them over it? I mean,
Yeah.
you hand them the check back. So, hell, you don't count your money till it's in the bank and you're like 6 months out.
Yeah. I'm so scared of coming off as like an asshole that I like the prospect of asking somebody for a check back that I wrote them is like horrifying to me. I couldn't even the fear of asking that like definitely outweighs whatever was paid for a painting in my unless that was like a $10,000 painting that you sold him. I would have been like, well, I guess I own this painting now.
Some people don't concern themselves with such things.
I guess
they really don't.
Yeah.
But you know, you chalk it up to a learning experience. You chuckle at it. You move on.
I feel you. So do you sell like prints or whatever online or?
I sell very little in the way of prints.
Okay.
What I want for my work, as far as prints goes, it is incredibly expensive.
Oh, okay.
Like, I don't want to just laser jet a painting onto a piece of paper and sell it to somebody for $50. To me, that whole giclée print, that's an inkjet printer or whatever. It's nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, I know the process because of the Saturday in the Park posters to do, you know, the 4-color actual printing press stuff.
Screen printed you're talking about?
Well, they use plates, I'm sure, but screen printing is wonderful, but it's all very labor intensive.
Yeah, I got a screen printing press over there.
And to take one of my big pieces, because the pieces I'd want to print are usually ginormous, 4 foot by 5 foot paintings. Wow. So it becomes a massive endeavor. I would love to figure it out that it can financially work for me, that I can get a really nice quality product into the hands of somebody who's interested. You know,
I wonder if like a print on demand for like fine art exists.
I'm sure it does, but to do that on demand thing, it's not gonna be screen printed. It's not gonna be color plates with a CMYK. It's gonna be we cue it up on the printer and then it shoots out into the room where they box it up and send it out.
I feel you. Yeah, I own a fair amount of like prints from. I got people from Iowa, people from the UK, whatever I find that I'm like I really like what this guy does. I always make sure to if they have something that I can afford in their store, I buy it, because I like supporting artists, man. I've gotten enough like support from like random people throughout the year that I like to throw a bone every once in a while when I can.
Agreed. I do the same.
Yeah, but I really try to stay like when I'm buying like prints, I always try to stay away in like the pen and ink, or not the painting where I like brush strokes matter kind of stuff.
Yeah. That's I don't know if you noticed that I was I'm hawking puzzles now.
Oh, really? Yeah.
But in the spirit of making my work available, I'm a blue collar dude, and I want other blue collar people to be able to afford stuff.
Yeah.
So, I mean, for ages, people have been saying, "Oh, you should do your work like sheets or like this or like that or whatever." And again, so much of it is incredibly expensive because you're talking about buying wholesale merchandise up front that you're gonna store in the corner of your house
we can
somewhere.
talk after this. I got a few ways that you can actually like there's print on demands that like make like sheets and if you're not like selling it as the guise of fine art prints, there's some services that really create some quality stuff that I have bought.
I'd be interested in hearing about it. But the puzzles, I finally found something that it was like you could get it at the right price, that there was actually room for me to make a little profit. But it's still the rigmarole to get it all ready, and I mean the 400 emails back and forth to set it all up.
No, we need this bleed margin. No.
Can you bump that over a little bit? How about a different font there?
Yeah.
You start getting all OCD about every last idiosyncrasy.
Yeah, I ran a t-shirt company with a couple of my buddies in college, and it was the same stuff, like printing. And it was all screen printed, real nice stuff, and just the process to get them underneath the freaking printer was the biggest pain in the ass. It was way bigger pain in the ass than designing the damn shirt. So, yeah.
But back to the whole print thing. I know it can be done.
Yeah.
And I know artists with a bit more in the way of resources are doing it.
Okay.
And it's definitely on the horizon for me. Back to the 4x5. Well, how many people have a wall for a 4x5? How many people have the money and the inclination to buy a 4 foot by 5 foot massive painting?
Right.
I mean, these things dominate a room.
That's a commitment to.
Yeah, you might end up redecorating just so the room looks right.
Yes. And people don't buy art to match your couch. That's what hotels do. Don't do that. Buy art for art's sake. It's a constant, like,
I was just talking to somebody a couple months ago.
I finally got my girlfriend switched over to the, like, where she doesn't go, like, to the JC, you know, or the whatever Target
Yeah.
art section. I'm like, no, I don't. None of this is art. This is
It's real.
Yeah.
People do it. I just had an email a couple months ago looking to match some light fixtures in a bedroom.
No. Buy
Well,
look
but
at the
you know
art.
where
Yeah,
I'm at with it?
yeah.
Well, at least they picked mine.
There you go. I feel you. Yeah.
You can pick mine. Please don't go to Target though.
Yeah.
Don't go to Walmart. Don't go to Target. Don't buy that art, please. For just a couple of dollars more, and it doesn't even have to be my art, but for just a few bucks more,
Yeah.
you could go to kind of a low key show, pick up something for $40,
Mm-hmm.
put a $20 Michaels frame on it, right?
Exactly.
And maybe you've established a relationship with that artist, and as you get older and your income raises, maybe their work turns out to be some of the coolest stuff you've ever seen. Well, now you go back 5 years later and you buy a piece for $200 from them.
Yep.
Right? You can cultivate a relationship with an artist. I mean, it doesn't have to end like a point of sale transaction.
Mm-hmm.
You know, thank
Right.
you for coming, and then you never talk to them again. That doesn't work at all.
Yep.
Like once I've sold somebody a piece, we're kind of friends forever.
Uh-huh.
I mean,
Yeah.
you see them everywhere, and
Exactly.
every
yeah.
time you see them, you're like,
Right. It's
"Well,
like
that guy
a
bought a piece for me that time.
That's-
He's all right."
That's the way to do it. It's truly like a don't buy art to fit a room. Like fill a room to like fit the art that you want in it. It's kind of like my theory
Buy
on this
so
stuff. Yeah.
much art that you have to make room in your basement
Here we go.
so you can switch things out every 3 months.
And I think most people don't realize how cheap it is. Like like when you're saying like don't buy the stuff at Target, buy it from local artists. I think most people are like, well, the local artist stuff is so expensive. Like honestly, most of the time it's cheaper to get stuff from local artists than
A
it is
lot
to
of
get those
times.
like big gross.
Well,
Yeah.
I find, for me, I always tell people, admittedly, some of my work is very expensive, but some of it takes forever and a day.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe that price tag is me just not being interested in selling it very much, right?
Yep.
Maybe that's what it would take to wipe away my tears when I finally let that piece go.
Yeah.
So I always tell people, if you're actually interested in getting some of my work, set a budget. Tell me what you want, and it's like I'm not looking to screw you here, right?
Yeah.
You're like, I have a budget of $400. Well, you know what? I'm going to give you the best damn painting that I can give you for $400.
Mm-hmm.
The likelihood is you're going to get something that's took me probably a lot more effort.
You know what's
than that.
crazy is that you said $400, and I thought that is an amazing price for a painting. Like
That's a
that
good
didn't strike
price.
me as crazy. Like that.
Oh, but I'll tell you this much: some of the other pieces are thousands and thousands. of
Okay,
dollars.
yeah. I was gonna say. I don't think that like anything's kind of real nuts for a painting like that makes me go, oh shit, until it's like 1,200 and above is like what makes me go,
see, that's
damn,
nothing.
what's going on there?
It's
Yeah.
nothing.
Oh, yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Break it down.
Yeah.
Break it down to hours. Break it down to effort.
100%. I'm thinking more in terms of like when I'm looking at art. And I'm like looking
absolutely.
At,
I'm
you know,
looking in the sub $100 range.
Yeah. But like
I'm
it's
looking
something
to make friends with an artist and broker a trade.
trade for trade. Yeah. It's like as soon as things like get over the $250 mark, I'm like, oh, I don't know. I'd have to.
And as you get older,
Yeah.
$250 to some people is nothing.
You're right. Yeah.
No, absolutely nothing.
Mm-hmm.
When I first started figuring it out, right, like coming to grips with what it was to ask people for money,
Yeah.
I found it was helpful to think of it in terms of shoes,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
People will spend $150 on a pair of shoes without blinking.
Yep.
They'll buy a nice new pair of snow boots or something, $150,
Yeah. And how long do those last?
a season,
Yeah.
a lot, and then they'll probably get another pair next year. So you're like, well, how many pairs of shoes are you willing to give me for this?
Yeah.
2, 3? Like, right? It's
Yeah.
just something to knock it away from being that glittering dollar sign
Yeah.
that hypnotizes you. I mean, and the truth is, there's nothing worse than like desperation. And as an artist, you might teeter on desperation more often than you like.
Yep.
but you can't. I mean, that's when it comes out of that whole like you're not actually doing it for the money.
Yeah.
So don't act like it.
Right. But there and then there also is like that whole thing that I think, you know, when you mentioned like being from here, being blue collar, like the I think the first time as a self-employed artist that like you ask somebody for what you think your piece of work is actually worth, it's like kind of like a
Oh yeah.
this is what I think it's worth, and then you just have to like watch what their reaction is. Yeah.
It's just hanging out there in the breeze.
Yeah.
No, that, like one of the first times I dealt with that, it was my boss at a place I worked at in Ames, and I was like, well, I think it's worth more than $100, and he's like, I agree. I was like, I think it's worth more than $200. I agree. I go, I don't think it was worth more than $300. I also agree.
Yeah.
And we played this like kind of high and low game with it
Yep.
until it was like, all right, I'm all right with that. He's all right with that.
Yep. I look back at some of the wages that I like bartered for myself on freelance when I was first starting out, and it's like I thought I was getting away with murder the first time that like a somebody's running a creative department goes, hey, what's your hourly rate if you want to shoot for us? And I'm like, oh, I don't want to lose this. I don't want to lose this job. $25 an hour. And like now I know from like hiring people enough that like he was going, oh
Sucker.
jackpot. Most people who have like the professional equipment kit and background and doing the video work, like you can get $600 for a day rate pretty solidly. I was doing it for about 200. Yeah.
Wow.
But yeah, it was looking back now, I realize how young and naive I was, but yeah.
The lessons stick when you learn them the hard way.
Exactly. Yeah.
They really do.
Yeah.
It's amazing to think as 38. Whoa, big 38.
Mm-hmm.
I know I'm not that old.
You don't feel any different than you did when you were in your 20s, do you?
I do.
Oh, you do?
I feel majorly different.
Wow.
Like, I feel so much more confident.
That's good. Oh, I'm glad that it's a positive. Usually if people are like, oh, I can't get out of bed in the mornings. I feel sick all the time. So it's great to hear a positive.
That's a lot of years of learning lessons.
Yeah.
Every time I'd get smacked down, I'd figure it out, I'd do it again, and move through it. I mean, and I've had a million pep talks with myself. You're gonna work harder. You're gonna be better, and you're gonna make X, Y, or Z work.
Have you found any tricks as a hustling artist, like I mean, there's only so much creative space you can force yourself into, right? Like sometimes the creativity runs out and then it's just pushing for the sake of pushing. So how have you been able to like balance that, the hustle with the organic creation?
I guess on the creative side, I just cultivate it quietly all the time.
Okay.
I'll always let it just simmer in the background. Right? Because for what I do, I have these. I mean, I think anybody who's project based, which we all are, you don't have to be creative all the time.
Yeah.
And you choose what to give your creative energy to. But as you cultivate it, and then it's like a lightning strike, right? And then an idea comes together. You put it all. You put it into some 3-dimensional space in front of you. Shape it a bit, right?
Yeah.
And then it's process, right? Because like every time you click the button, you're not being creative.
Right.
It's the process of teasing that creativity out, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know. There's times where I don't feel like being creative at all, and that's when I paint the background, I guess.
Okay. Yeah.
So balance. It's balance and when and where you put your creative energy.
So recently, I've just been kind of getting into, like I said, it's my work's so seasonal that it's truly like the job's just shut down for a few months a year. So I've been on go mode, and I think like the last like 2 weeks I've taken 2 days off, and that's about from the start of the summer. It's about 2 full days I've had off.
Yeah, I hear you. That summer's been the same way.
Yep, and like it was the first time where I woke up in the morning and I was like, "There's nothing I need to do today. There's a lot of things I can do today."
Did you feel panicky?
I did, but like it was, I was like, okay, I'm gonna leave my phone at home. I'm gonna go up to Coffee Works and sit down and have a coffee, or on another morning I go over to Stone Brew in the Dunes and sit there and have a coffee and eat breakfast and spend a few hours doing it. And I like to.
Well, you're better than me then.
I try to like disconnect from screens is like 99% of my daily struggle.
My off time, it's like, well, better go mow the lawn. It's
You're also talking to a guy that's put in 2 retaining walls out of nowhere in the last 2 weeks. So yeah, it's
well, better go roof the garage. It's real life just crashing in all around you.
And I've also been trying to like actually realize that I'm like kind of just pushing out projects and then go, what do I want to really make that would excite me to make? So like yesterday I took my buddy out and we shot a piece for his music video out at Stone Park. We got the drone out, got a nice muscle car out. We're shooting drone footage going down the paths at Stone Park and it looks badass. And I was like, something that excited me that I haven't done anything that out of the norm for a while that I liked.
Well, and you can double up.
Yeah.
Some time in nature.
Yep, exactly. Yeah.
I can say as far as creativity goes, I find defending it is as important as cultivating it.
Okay.
Meaning, just a statement I said a minute ago, how real life is always pushing in. What is real life? The real responsibilities of life.
Yeah.
Always poking and digging their way.
Yeah.
Into stealing time from creativity.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I say defend your creativity, is to make it a priority.
Yeah.
That never. And I've been paying attention. I see what you're up to, and you're doing it. You're hustling hard.
Appreciate it, and that's what people see is about 5% of the actual total body of work that I do. Which I'm always stoked when people are like, "Hey, I see your stuff. You're really working hard." I'm like, "Oh, great! I'm doing it 20 times that."
And that's the same guy I want to be.
Yeah.
Man, look at that. Man, he's hustling.
Yeah.
All the time. He's hustling all the time.
Yeah.
Something's done. Time to start something new. As soon as I chuckle. I work, finish a painting, look at it, double check, looks good, slide it into the pile, start another one.
Yep.
And there's no other way to keep it going.
Yeah. And then it also comes in I like the statement, don't let perfection be the enemy of progress. Like don't spend all your time like obsessing over it. Like just do it, get it done, and do the next. Like just make stuff, and then
I'm with it.
That's the only way to keep it going.
Well, and then to elevate yourself so that you're good enough.
Yeah.
So that your good is real good.
Right.
Yep. You don't want to. That's never an excuse to half-ass anything. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's got to be sharp. It's got to be tight, but you also got to know when to step away and move on. Like you were saying, you're just slamming projects out. For me, it's a couple years down the line, I'll look back at all the projects that I've been slamming out.
Yep.
Be like, damn, I was doing some good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Less time to get in your head about it, worry about it, think about it. Just keep knocking it out.
Right.
Like I've talked to a lot of artists, and it's like, I'm not sure what I'm doing next, or I don't know. And it's, for the love of God, man, just do something.
Yeah.
Anything. Just fill the space with something.
Mm-hmm.
You can abandon it. If you come up with a brilliant idea midway through whatever it is you end up doing, abandon it and move on. But don't just sit around.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what. You can't be wishy-washy.
I keep a canvas and paints in my office that, like, I think I have now just I think it's probably on its like 20th iteration of just being something completely different, where I'm just like, I'd use it as like an escape from editing videos, where I just turn around, I'm like, all right, put something new on the canvas, put it on the wall for 2 weeks, and then it's like take it down, just redo it.
And see, my advice there is that canvas is so cheap.
Well, I know, I got 10 of them on the table right there.
You should have 20 of them sitting around and keep stacking them up, because it's being able to go back and see how things have changed and altered, and find like one in those 10 was actually a really solid idea.
What's your what how would you define like your style as an artist, or do you have like, I guess, a vein that you like to stay inside of?
Well, as far as defining my style, I guess it's pop art. It's illustrative pop art. If I'm trying to explain it to somebody. And brave of you, by the way, to have a visual artist on an audio format here. But if I'm introducing to somebody who's never seen my work, and I know it's putting me into some pretty good company, but I always say it's a cross between Where's Waldo and Dr. Seuss. And that's kind of like my shotgun of, does that give you an idea of what I'm doing? But what I'm actually doing is I'm building a universe of characters, locations, and storylines. I don't, I'm not saying I'll never, but I tend to not go for the one-off paintings at this point.
Okay.
Like, oh, I had a random idea, and then I go and make it.
Yeah.
I have a set of ideas and a setting for those ideas, and I build, alter, bend, and change, and keep coming up with iterations that have something similar to the last one, but are moving the development of said world.
Yeah.
In a more complicated and interesting way.
Yeah. I really like your style. I mean, to like give my interpretation of it for people listening that like might not, you know, it's got like nice clean lines. It's got like bright colors that are like almost on like a retro color palette almost. It like feels like a 60s color palette maybe, rather than like these big bright neon colors.
Varying. I'll get to the neons. Give me time.
And then and I think like thematically, maybe not thematically, it's not the right word, but when you're talking about like introducing characters and worlds and like creating like these big you know, it's not just like one subject on a painting. From what I've seen generally, it's like a whole landscape that you're doing, right? It feels very much like a David Cho mural. Are you familiar with his work?
I'm not.
He's the dude who's like a billionaire off of painting Facebook's Facebook's offices for equity in the company. When they were like moving into their San Francisco or LA office or whatever, they had him like come do huge murals in there, and he's like, "I'll trade you for equity in the company."
Smart dude.
And yeah, I think he's worth like $1 billion
Smart
now.
dude.
But he's a Korean American street artist is what he is, but he just does really cool work. I had a chance to go check out one of his murals on Houston Street in New York.
More likely than not, I know the work and don't know the name.
Yep. And
like a sieve, names just in and out.
Okay. Yeah. His work doesn't look like yours, but like when you talk about characters and landscapes and bigger, it's very much in the same vein.
I hated struggling with that. What am I gonna do? Yeah. It felt like reinventing the wheel.
Yeah.
Every painting,
you're
and it's another one of those. It's kind of like shop talk for artists, right? You're supposed to, and it makes perfect sense, have an artistic persona, right? You as an artist doesn't have to be precisely who you are.
Right.
It's the face you show the world. It's the work attached to the face that you're showing the world, right? So I heard it said sometime, and who knows how true you want to take it as. But somebody should be able to walk in and see one of your paintings on the wall and say, hey, that's a Mark Kochen painting. Right? Yep. That it should be yours enough, that it should be within the vein of what you do enough that people know it's yours.
Yep.
I mean, and that makes perfect sense because, right, I mean, we're all living in the wonderful commercialized future where we're all a brand unto ourselves.
Right.
I mean, like,
so, to the detriment of the
yeah. I mean, we all are our own publicists. We all are our own media relations agents, and we all, I mean, that's what selfies are, right? You're your own paparazzi.
True. Yeah.
You have all these various channels which you release yourself to the world.
Yeah.
You know, and if you every piece of art or every creation you make is a one-off random, where the hell did that come from?
Yep.
It doesn't help to build brand recognition. I mean, it just all sounds disgusting to say it.
Yeah.
But it's very true.
Right. Did you, and I also in like that, on kind of a turn is like, I feel like that's like one of the highest respects that, or like the best compliments that I can get is when people are like, hey, I saw this like photo or I saw this video. Did you take that? Because it looks just like something you make. I'm like, yeah, it is one of mine. And thanks for noticing. Like because it's kind of tough to do, you know, with the accessibility of, whatever medium it is now in 2018, like everybody has the access to create.
And generally that's a solid compliment because it's like, hey, it looks like yours, it's crap, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the other direction is no, but assuming I hate it, assuming your brand is associated with quality, hard work, and solid effort, having someone recognize what you're doing is a positive thing. It's awesome. I mean, I have to say something contrary to all that just to put some soul back into the art.
Yeah.
I mean, because it really is. It is not about branding, and it is not about marketing. that's just the way you survive
Mm-hmm.
while you're in the midst of doing
Yeah.
your creative
Yeah.
passion. I mean, and that's a real thing. Man, it's a crazy world. We live in a crazy world.
Right.
Crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember years ago. I mean, it was 2004. I mean, I had just gotten back to Sioux City from being in college, and I was having an existential moment. Right? Like, what am I doing?
Mm-hmm.
What is the purpose of what I'm doing? Who do I want to be? And I made an honest to goodness list, and it was among those things. It was in that, do no harm. Don't be a negative influence on the world.
Mm-hmm.
What are your drives? My drives have never included lots of money.
Yeah.
My drives have always been creative pursuits. So I wind up with this big list. It's like, this is who I am and this is what I'm doing. I am going to contribute positive things to the world around me. I'm going to use whatever creative gifts I have to the best of my ability.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to be a decent and kind person. And I'm going to, when I die and I have a split second before I'm dead,
Yeah.
and I think back,
Yeah.
I knew I tried. I knew I did good things. I mean, that's the purpose.
Yeah.
That's the purpose. So my work is very, very childlike, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
It's like archetypal, recognizable, relatable things, especially to the mind of a child. I mean, I'm not leaving adults out of the mix at all. I want them to appreciate the work. But I'm relating to who I was when I was.
That's a good way to put it. Like your line work is so clean. It almost feels like it could be a coloring book that
Yeah.
like has just somebody used the paint tool in Photoshop to fill in. Like that's
And part of the
yeah.
purpose is to have them be exquisitely painted.
yeah, yeah. And the detail work is extraordinary.
Thank you.
I think I was combing through your Instagram and I saw like. I don't. Was there a video of you doing a line? And I was
Yeah.
like, wow. I didn't think that. I thought that like just from seeing your work used in like the Saturday in the Park filter or flyer, I thought it was like digitally redone or whatever. But no, it
Everything's hand done,
legit. Yeah,
start to finish.
yeah. It's great.
I use a teeny tiny little brush. I have a huge callus on my finger.
Yeah.
It's probably evidence of how insane I am, because I could accomplish some of these things much more simply.
Are you able to take that same type of focus into like other things in your life? I mean, like outside of creative pursuits, where you say that is like that's the passion. But like, I mean, are you able to lose yourself in whatever it may be, mowing the lawn? I guess
I don't think I've ever lost myself mowing
Yeah.
the lawn. I'll rephrase that just a little bit, because it's not focus. Well, it is, but it's being like, excuse me, it's being dedicated and having solid follow through,
Okay.
right? Like the mowing the lawn thing, I don't know, but like I
Yeah.
attack I attack everything the same way, right? A painting, like a giant painting, right? 20 square feet of space
Yeah.
that I'm painting with the tiniest brush I've got. I mean, it requires a bit of an insane person to do such things, but it requires it's like time management and project management skills, breaking things down into component pieces, knowing that A has to come before B, has to come before C, and keeping like a mental tally of where everything's at, right? So I can take a lot of those things that I have taught myself through painting and apply them to other things, breaking big, complicated projects down into little component parts that I can just, what's that old thing about how do you eat a whale, right?
Yeah, one bite at a time.
One bite at
Yeah.
a time. And that's how I think about all the stuff I'm doing.
Awesome.
So yeah, the creative pursuits, it applies to everything. I'm sure in an obnoxious way to some of the people around me sometimes.
Yeah, I get like obsessive about whatever excites me at the time, and it doesn't always. It's like sometimes video isn't that thing. Like sometimes it's like I want to learn everything I can find out about cooking. So just YouTube and shit like crazy, spending hours in the kitchen buying new knives and stuff so I can see how to make food better. I always get
The
like,
sharper the knife, the better it tastes.
yeah, exactly. My ultimate career goal is to just host a show on the Food Network, so I could just like I say it like half joking, but that is the ultimate job.
The thing is,
yeah.
you do it right, and you can do your own damn food show.
Right. That's I mean, it's
There's nothing stopping
hey,
you.
I'm a self-distributor. I know how it works.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's all ultimately in a pursuit of being able to do that kind of deal. Yeah.
There's sharp people out there who have blazed the trail ahead of us.
Right.
I always think of like Mac Lethal down in Kansas City.
Yeah. Yeah.
Dude, that dude hustles.
That's a nice deep cut you had there. Yeah.
But I keep track of what he's doing.
Okay. Yeah.
And man, he is chasing it down.
Yeah.
Whatever it is he's after, he is chasing it down.
He's got a couple real solid strategies. Like his did you ever read his Text from Bennett blog that he used to do? Oh, he used to, it's crazy, but he had like this. I don't even know if he could do it in 2018, but it was like he had a white cousin that acted black and text messages, but it was all kind of like a Tumblr that he put together that just had like these crazy text exchanges. Real funny.
I'll look it up.
But
I only know the pancake thing.
and then he's like he also does the like 27 styles of rapping in 2 minutes. Like that's a good strategy. He knows what he's doing when he gets those.
Yeah, I mean it's like every time he does it, it's blasts his name back into the kind of into the atmosphere.
But then it's just super gross that Facebook has like the power to go, okay, this video is going to be popular for 2 days, and then we're going to make sure nobody ever sees it again.
Never again.
Yeah, that people are like, oh, because I have a few videos that have done like in the mil plus views range.
Wow.
And I got one that did 35 million.
Congratulations. 35.
Yeah, with Sioux City Group, Dad.
Okay,
Their go to work video.
I could have put that together.
Yeah, that's all right. But that one actually, like, it went viral for like 2 days, and then it was like maybe I think it had like one little jump up again where it made it caught in an algorithm. But it's like
and the high that you had for 2 days, you're just dying to get it back.
Oh, actually, I need to work on that because I have no internal, like I don't get much satisfaction from like views. It just
good. You shouldn't.
Yeah,
that's a disgusting Pavlovian.
I've decided that the pursuit is the only thing that gets me going. Like like even like the success of a project doesn't even really get me going.
I'm glad. The only thing about a like or a share or whatever is like somebody saw it.
Yeah.
But as far as validation goes,
right. Yeah.
There's no validation there.
Yeah, that was a big turning point in my like mental career as a photographer. Was when I just like stopped freaking out that these people that suck at taking photos had more like Instagram likes than me. I'm like, Taylor, it doesn't matter. You know that you like your photo more than this photo.
You're playing different games. Yeah. You're not competing in the same realm, but the way it's shaped and the way it looks like you're competing, but you're not actually.
Right? Yeah, and it's like the idea that something like photography and attention on photographs would be a zero-sum game in the first place is just ridiculous.
Yeah. It's trust me, I experience all the same things, and I've had to work through them all too.
Yeah, I feel you. It's like the constant imposter syndrome is like the artist curse they call it. You know, like always knowing the actual effort, or like the actual thought process that wasn't superhuman that went into your piece of work. If your piece of work is being treated as something like beyond measure, you're like, no, I know that I'm just a regular dude. So hold on.
Hold up.
Yeah. Not that I've ever had critical acclaim for a work, but some people, like, when you have something like 35 million views, that it's not even the video that I'm most proud of.
What's
by
critical
any means.
acclaim?
Yeah. So
what does it mean?
Most of the time, it means that studios paid for some critical acclaim is what it usually means. Yeah.
Some guy named Critical Acclaim gave you 4 stars.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean anything. It goes back to those things you see once in a blue moon. They're like talking to rich people on their deathbed or whatever.
Yeah.
They're never, what made your life worth living? My family.
Yeah.
My kids. Never once do they job.
Yeah.
All those Facebook likes I got, they were pretty cool.
Yeah.
That one critic that one time. I mean, you look at, I don't know, you catch musicians or other artists at a moment, and you hear them say things that give you this insight into like, you know, say you got a kid who wants to be the next, you know, guitar troubadour type, and
Yeah.
he's really struggling for it and wants it so bad.
Mm-hmm.
And then over here you have the guy who's had it for 20 years and couldn't care less.
Yeah.
Because when he bit into that fruit, he found out it was sour and nasty.
Yes. I have like one of the best blessings of doing what I do specifically is that I do spend a lot of time with like famous people at like, you know, really who are like reached the point of success that people are getting into that industry are like, I want to be that someday. And the one consistent I've noticed is that it is no longer like their thing. Once you become like the top of a career, top of a field, it's you're a handled person. You're a handled face of an entity that is being managed by a team, and like the decisions don't seem to be your own anymore. At least from me being in the room when that type of stuff's going on. But I like that seems like
you're making trade-offs.
Yeah.
You're figuring my autonomy's worth the money.
Yeah.
It's worth the whatever.
Yeah. I think that's why when we find like that person who's like doesn't, you know, it seems so authentic and like just doing it on their own terms. I think that's why it's so attractive as like just society, that we're like that's our God, because like he doesn't seem like he's let it all affect him, you know.
Well, you know, for a lot of that, I mean, you're talking about doing things on your own terms, etc.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of us doing that.
Yeah, right.
There's a whole pile of us around here doing that.
That's the Sioux City blessing,
right?
Yeah.
And historically, there's been a ton of talent come out of Sioux City.
Right.
Man,
That's the premise of the show.
I won't go down the list of all the big names. There's been a lot of very cool people come out of Sioux City. And we have no idea how history will look back at what we do right now.
Yeah, right.
I'm doing my thing, you're doing your thing, there's Dad's doing their thing, and Rev's doing his thing, and all over the, right?
Yeah.
And someday, somebody will take a moment and they'll turn around and look back at, you know, the early 2000s and be like, pretty cool, dudes.
Yeah.
You had some cool stuff going on back then.
Yep.
Right? And then in that moment, people will be like, oh, man, you know, like, how did they get all that going? And we're just like struggling it away.
Yeah, just doing stuff.
Every
Everybody
day.
was doing stuff with no expectation of like real financial gain. And actually, it would have been 2 years ago now. Well, 2 summers ago, I was in New York just visiting a company that kind of like had offered me a job or whatever, and doing what I do. And at one time it had been like my dream company. Like, I want to work there someday. And that was actually what got me to doing what I do was the dream of all day, someday working for this company. I go out there and I decide within about 6 hours, Manhattan's not a place for me. I had no ambition to be there, but I still take the meeting, and I'm like, maybe there's something really great going on that I can figure out.
Good to go.
Yeah, and if nothing else, like the contacts are always nice, right? So I go to this meeting, and they're like, so what's it like doing what you do in Sioux City? Isn't it like a pain in the ass trying to find work? And I'm like, no, yeah, kind of. It is a pain in the ass, like paying the bills with creative work in Sioux City. But on the other hand, like, I don't know if that I could go to any other city and have the same access to a creative community that's so level in terms of like everybody's willing to work together like at all times. And that's, people are like, how do you get these guests for the Sioux City Show? I'm like, I send people Instagram direct messages that I want to have on, and they're like, yeah, I'd like to do that. And that's usually about the extent of it. And then we schedule a date, and that's how this worked out, you know?
That's as much as we put into that.
Yeah, and it's like the thing in Sioux City where you can get rappers and painters and video creators all to work together on projects, and there's not much friction in between like the concept of the conception of the idea and the actual execution of it. It's a pretty, because when everybody's blue collar, it makes it a little bit easier for nobody gets too far on their own pedestal when everybody's blue collar.
Yeah,
right?
we're all on a pretty low hill here, so even if you get to the top of it.
But then on the other hand, like when you're saying like in the early 2000s, how history might look back on this period with like Dad has real success, you know.
Yeah.
Rev has like real. I hate to say like success on Dad, and then like you gave the Rev example, like real talent, like a real talented dude who has like every capability to have success, and like just hasn't had that big break, you know, whatever. But like
the thing is, in a lot of cases, that big break is a specter.
Yeah, right.
Right? Like somebody somewhere decides, You're a commodity we can work with.
Right.
And they take you, they cultivate you, they give you the image, they give you the backing, they give you the da-da-da-da-da-da. Now you're a big break.
Yeah.
But that does not diminish any of us
Yeah.
that don't have the specter of the big break show
Right.
up in our lives.
Yep.
What is that anyway?
Yeah. It's truly at the end of the day, it's about creating the shit that you're happy about.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that makes you happy to be creating shit.
I can't stop.
Yeah. Yeah.
I wouldn't know what to do with myself.
Yeah.
I need that massive guiding focus
Yeah.
because it defines everything else.
I feel you.
I literally build my whole life around all that stuff.
You look like you'd be a banker if you weren't. I'm just playing.
A bouncer?
No, I was going for the least blue collar job I could think of.
Cubicle jockey.
Yeah.
That'd be it. That'd be the worst thing for me.
I went to work in a bank for a year. Led to me working for myself. So, yeah.
Me in a room with no natural light,
Oh.
no freedom to get up and go.
I'm very excited that you mentioned the light because that was one of my everyday complaints when I worked inside that building. I was like, I cannot stand the color of these fluorescent lights. Stop. Yeah.
Well, the studio I had in Leeds, awesome spot, awesome opportunity.
Yeah.
The only room suitable for painting had no natural light.
Really.
I called it the land of perpetual midnight.
Yeah.
Because God only knew what time it was, what the weather was like.
Mm-hmm.
If you came in at 8 o'clock in the morning and it was dreary and rainy, for all you knew, it was dreary and rainy all day. Sometimes you'd come wandering out a few hours later and you're like, oh shit, it's like 70 and sunny out.
Yeah, damn.
It change, like your brain like rewires based on the day.
Right. Yeah.
And it's like, oh, it's actually a really nice day, and suddenly you have a little more energy.
Yeah. Yeah.
But now the studio I've got a window right next to me.
That's
Can get
nice.
some fresh air.
Yeah. I don't know if you noticed, but I color balanced every bulb in this room is at 5,400 degree Kelvin. So.
Did you really?
Yeah, so it's all daylight, the hue of daylight. Whereas
It's actually pretty decent here.
Yeah,
What kind of lights are they?
Oh, I mean, I got different. They're all different bulbs that have like a color rating index of 95 plus. So they're all true to like a daylight tone and.
But they're not like
different colors.
halogens or anything. They're like LED.
No. The I think they might all be. Yeah, they're all LED. Yeah.
The LEDs have actually.
Maybe that one's not. Or maybe I don't know if the one's.
They've progressed enough that I use them for painting now.
Really? Yeah.
I was trying to be an early adopter with the LEDs because I hate those. Those CFLs are trash.
Right. Yeah.
Horrible color. I've always used halogens.
Yeah.
Expensive.
Hot and shit. Yeah.
I'd have 8 or 10 of them running a foot over my head.
Yeah.
Blasting at the painting.
Yep.
Great light, great color. But the electric bill and replacing them was $8 a pop or something like that.
Yeah.
So I actually finally got a hold of some LED shop lights, and those things are just
Fused them. Yeah.
perfect.
They're not horrible. I got this actually. I don't know if you see on top of this
Yeah.
light pole here, that little thing plugged in. That puts out pretty solid light, and it fits in my back pocket. It's a little. Those are like my video godsends now that I'm able to like put them right off screen or right off camera wherever I'm shooting, and use those little things. And I can bring a bag of them, and I got basically a light setup. It's pretty nice.
The LEDs are cool.
Yeah, I'm a fan, but I don't want to keep you up here all afternoon. I feel like we could talk for 2 days straight.
Probably go for a while.
Yeah, but because I now JD Schultz and I had him on for the second time, so the door to two-time guest has been opened. So I would definitely like to have you on again sometime. And in the meantime, is there anywhere that you would like people to check out your work, or any causes that you would like to support? But not by causes, I mean like events like that people should know about, that kind of thing.
Yes, you can check out my work at my webpage, markkochen.com,
I'll link it.
MarkKochen.
There we go.
Because nobody can spell it. Yeah, you can find me on Instagram, all the normal places.
Awesome.
As far as things going on right now, there's not an awful lot.
It's cooling off for the winter.
Kinda chilling out, hibernation season. So look for me in the spring. I'll be doing a solo show at a new spot. It's going to be really hot.
There we go.
I'm kind of just figuring that out right now. So
nice. And go take pictures in front of his Rockland Wall mural. It's right next to Arby's on Gordon Drive downtown.
Yep.
And
Take the kids down to the birds under the bridge at Stone Park in Hamilton.
There you go. Yeah, that's that last week this is the first week that I'm not doing this segment that I used to do called Most Slept On in Sioux City. I had to end it because I completely ran out of things to talk about. 15 episodes in, I was kind of like digging at this point. There's only so many things that exist that everybody in Sioux City needs to know about.
Yeah.
And last week, so my final one was the Perry Creek walking trail, or the Perry Creek bike trail. So
slept on, meaning that things just underappreciated.
Yeah, like things that like I've always found that I'll show up to things in Sioux City and I'm like, holy shit, how does everybody not know about this? That,
Yeah.
Like I feel like some of the coolest things that get done are like the things that just people do them and don't promote it or don't advertise it. So
yeah, the way I always figure it with our crowd, they'll know.
Yeah,
Right?
exactly.
I put out one notice. They'll figure it out. They all talk.
There you go. Yeah. So thank you so much for listening and watching and tuning in and all of your support in general. If you dig the Sioux City Show, what you could do for me is, like it, share it, tell your friends about it. Any one of those things does a huge service on my end. Leave a review. Only positive ones. I don't care about the negative ones, so it's not really constructive criticism if I'm not going to take the criticism kind of deal. But until next time, this is the Sioux City Show. Thank you.